If your blood runs orange and blue, this is the pod for you. You're listening to Orange and Blue Bloods, hosted by EJ Stewart and Tommy Beer. Let's get to it, New York.
But let's shift gears here. And the Knicks, speaking of familiar faces like Jeff Van Gundy, the Knicks will be seeing a familiar face when they take on the Trailblazers in Portland on Tuesday to wrap up the West Coast trip. Former Knick Cam Reddish, who's been averaging 13.6 points a game and 46% shooting since joining the Trailblazers. He was asked about his time in New York and what went wrong. Reddish had this to say. He said, quote, "It had nothing to do with basketball. It was all the politics and all the favoritism." So very pointed words from Cam Reddish regarding why his Knicks tenure did not go well. He was acquired last season by the Knicks for Kevin Knox and a protected first-round pick, but only played sparingly in New York. The Knicks included Reddish in a trade package that landed them Josh Hart, who we'll talk about a little bit in a couple of minutes here. But meanwhile, the Blazers, they've wrapped a brutal 6-game road trip. They lost to New Orleans Pelicans 121-110. They had a 40-burger from Trey Murphy in that game on Sunday. The Blazers are now on a 3-game losing streak, 6 games below 500. Knicks last played the Blazers on November 25th. Portland beat the Knicks 132-129 in that one. So let's start with this Cam Reddish commentary because it got a lot of attention on social media. Do you buy Cam's explanation about what went wrong in New York? That it was all favoritism and not basketball?
No. Point blank. I mean, listen, the NBA is a business. If you can help a team win, you're going to find a way to get on the floor. I don't have the quote. I didn't waste my time to dig for it, but I'm sure if you go back and look at what he said after leaving Atlanta or when he requested a trade from Atlanta, it was probably the same thing. The head coach doesn't like me, or the front office favors somebody else. Yeah. Even though the Hawks spent a top 10 pick on him, even though the Knicks spent a first-round pick on him, if you have the ability and the talent and teams are that invested in you, they're going to find a way to put you on the court and sink or swim. The Knicks played better when they went to the 9-man rotation. Part of that was removing Reddish from the rotation. We know about the Knicks record pre and post that decision. Again, he had an opportunity, especially due to injuries with Grimes at the start of the season, to really establish himself as a consistent rotation player. Didn't make the most of that opportunity. And even more so, if you hear things behind the scenes, it's not just on game days because he comes to play on game days. It's his preparation. It's the way he competes in practice. He's not one of those guys that's going to show up early every game, every day and leave late. It's the NBA, especially for role players, is about kind of finding your niche. And, I think just this season in this particular Knicks team, Cam Reddish is, on paper, a better basketball player than Deuce McBride. He's longer. He's more athletic. He's taller. These are very important characteristics for an NBA basketball player. But McBride, is one of those guys that's a quote unquote superstar in his role. McBride relishes playing 12 minutes a night, whereas Reddish would view that as, that's not worthy of him. He's a guy that should be starting, that should be taking 19 shots a night. And in order to excel in the NBA, unless you're one of the preeminent talents in the league, if you're, the DeMarcus Cousins talented, and prior to the injuries, he was kind of by all accounts a knucklehead, but he was so gifted and so talented that the coach wasn't going to take him off the floor because he put up big numbers and helped his team win. Reddish isn't there, so he's got to figure out that just as much about the NBA, for guys on kind of on the periphery. We've seen a lot of talented players not make their way back into the league and end up averaging 31 points a game somewhere in China. And you can do that. You can make a lot of money playing overseas and get a house and a car and all that good stuff. But if you want to be in the NBA and stick around and make the big money, you got to excel in your role. And Reddish hasn't. If it was just the Knicks that they kind of ran into a problem, but again, the Hawks were very happy to get rid of him. After basically a year and a half after spending a top 10 pick on a guy that was a very highly recruited athlete coming out of high school and during his one season at Duke. So I do not put a lot of substance into Cam Reddish bellyaching about not playing in New York.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things where it's like, could they have not liked him and felt like, there were other guys they wanted to prioritize, like maybe RJ Barrett, who was playing ahead of him, and Quentin Grimes? Sure. But at the same time, what is your impact to winning when you do get on the court, when you do get opportunity? And we've seen now in multiple stops, including Portland, that he doesn't have an impact in winning. He's been there now for 3 weeks, 4 weeks, and he only has 4 wins since he's been playing, and getting a lot of minutes. He has games. I'm looking at his game log, 34 minutes. That was a 17-point loss to the Sacramento Kings. 32 minutes against his other old team, the Atlanta Hawks. Yeah, he shot 9 for 17. That one had a big game, scored 25 points. That was an 18-point loss to the Atlanta Hawks. Against Boston, he plays 34 minutes. They lose by 22 points. I mean, Cam Reddish, he can be a talented player and also just not a winning player. And I think it's probably, yeah.
And the other thing is, this NBA is a small kind of community. Anybody in the league could have had him for a second-round pick, for a pair of second-round picks. And the fact that nobody did tells you a lot. Months ago, they could have had him for very, very limited return on a young player, of high pedigree, of former, a couple of years removed from a lottery pick. And 2 teams have dumped him now, and no other team was willing to roll the dice on him. So I think that says a lot as well.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, in the fact that the Portland had to be incentivized to take him by giving up a first round, getting a first round pick back. I mean, again, there's a lot going on here. So, and I think Cam has talent, and I think maybe if he goes to the right situation, maybe he can develop into that guy. But do I think that he's that guy right now on a winning team? No. Like the Knicks, the proof is in the pudding. The Knicks benched him, did not play him. There were moments where I think he should have probably got in when guys were hurt. But that 9-man rotation that they locked in was the right 9 guys to play, and we've seen the returns on that. So, I Cam, he's got to feel how he's got to feel. Like I don't even blame him for feeling that there was favoritism and other things happening, because he probably looks at what he can do on a basketball court and looks at guys like Grimes and Barron and some of these guys say, hey, I can do things that these guys can't do, and he's probably right. But do you still impact winning? Do you show up on a night-to-night basis, on a practice-to-practice basis with the right mindset? Yes. Like, there are other things that make you a winning basketball player beyond just you being able to have the best package of moves or what's in your bag. Like, and those are the things that I think Cam needs to continue to work on. I hope he gets it. I'm not rooting against him, but I don't buy this. Oh, well, I only didn't play because they didn't like me. I don't buy it.
100%. And last thing, and we'll move on. The start of him becoming that better player, that more successful player, is accepting responsibility for why 2 teams have dumped him, and him saying it's business, completely avoiding taking any responsibility for 2 failed marriages, in his first 2 teams in the NBA is not a good sign of, and again, a representative of why the Knicks and the Hawks probably wanted to move on.
Yeah, I think part of it too is also because I think, quite frankly, I think he thought the favoritism would go his way. Like the Knicks traded a first round pick for him, so he thought, oh, well, they're definitely going to play me, right? So when the favoritism didn't go his way, he's like, all right, well, this is guy politics against me. So yeah, but anyway, talking about this game, keys to Knicks win. I mean, this is a Portland Trailblazers team that I think they having a little bit of an identity crisis right now. Like they're kind of tanked, they're kind of not. Dame Lillard did not play in this loss they had to the New Orleans Pelicans, so I don't know if he will be available for this one. So I mean, the Knicks lost this team before. The Blazers are not necessarily a deep team, but they do have guys that can hurt you in Jeremy Grant and Anthony Simons. What do you think are keys to Knicks winning this one?
Yeah, the keys certainly are going to be, the injury report. We're going to find it out on, should be later. We're recording this Monday afternoon. We should have Monday night. The teams should likely submit their injury report. First on Jalen Brunson, it sounds like he's not going to play. Tibbs has, Woj reported during the broadcast, the pregame show on ESPN, that it's unlikely that Brunson will suit up Tuesday night in Portland. I have the Tibbs quote here. He was asked before the game. Tibbs did not provide a timetable. Tibbs, quote, he'll just continue to do his treatments and we'll see where he is. When he's ready to go, he's ready to go. So let me say this. Jalen Brunson should not play Tuesday night against Portland. I don't care if he wakes up tomorrow morning and says, Coach, I'm 100% healthy. I've never felt better in my entire life. Jalen Brunson should not play tomorrow night in Portland. Due to a quirk in the schedule, the Knicks don't play again until Saturday when they host the Nuggets at the Garden. If Brunson sits out Tuesday night, tomorrow night's game, that will give him 8 days. He played the first half of Friday's game. He'll have a full week to rest. And before he suits back up Again, it's essential to think at the big picture at this point of the season. You cannot be penny wise and pound foolish. You need a healthy Jalen Brunson to have any chance of winning a first round playoff series. You need a Jalen Brunson as close to 100% healthy as possible. So for that reason, I think they should sit him. The Knicks also get a benefit of the Portland potentially sitting out Dame Lillard. You mentioned he did not play Sunday night due to left calf soreness. Again, we don't have an update on that situation, but again, the Pacers are heading the wrong direction, riding a 3-game losing streak. Certainly on the outside of the play-in picture, looking in, even if they were to get in the play-in picture, Yusuf Nurkic has played less than 20 minutes, 3 straight games as he works his way back from injury. Played just 10 minutes last night, was minus 20 in 10 minutes. If you're reading the tea leaves, it looks like the Pacers are more concerned with ping pong balls. The Blazers, I'm sorry, are more concerned with improving their lottery position than qualifying for the 10 seed out west, even though that's still technically within play. They'd have to jump over teams playing better that are healthier, the Lakers, the Jazz, and all those other clubs. We know about the crazy grouping this late in the season. It's just the Knicks should win Tuesday night, especially if Dame Lillard's not playing. This is a game they'll likely be favored in by quite a few points. So just in terms of talent, but the bigger picture, my main takeaway and looking ahead towards the Blazers matchup is make sure Jalen Brunson rests and gets a night off.
Yeah, I mean, I mentioned, their record during that time since that trade deadline. They've only won 4 games since then. So there was a weird situation where coming off of the All-Star break, they rested Damian Lillard, which was raised a lot of eyebrows. The guy getting rest after the All-Star break. Now, apparently, there was a plane issue that Dame had, and they didn't want to rush him back out there. But you had an All-Star break, and then you get a rest game, a load management game for a team that's apparently supposed to be in the play-in race. Seemed very odd. So yeah, the Blazers have been doing some funky stuff with their minutes and guys being available. So yeah, I think that this is a team that's not necessarily incentivized necessarily to try to win. I think that this is a team that's trying to quote unquote look at their young guys and evaluate their talent. Those words we talk about when we get to tanking season. So if you're the Knicks, you gotta take advantage. Like I said, I do watch this matchup between Grant and Randall. Grant had a really good game in the game they played way early in the season in November. And Grant generally a guy who plays very well against the Knicks for some reason. So he's always a guy to watch. But for the Knicks, hopefully they come out with a little fire. And, this is a revenge game for Josh Hart, too. I mean, he was traded, though. I'm sure he was perfectly fine being moved to a contender or at least a team that's going to be in the playoffs. So it's important for them, I think, to, show that, they want to show up for their guy, and can support him in this game. And hopefully they take care of business because I agree. I think that from a talent standpoint, the Knicks should beat this team. The Blazers without Lillard, especially, essentially a 2-man team with Simons, who's been in and out of the lineup a lot as well this season, and Grant, and that's really it. Nurkic has been a little bit ineffective of late due to the injuries. So Knicks should win this game. I think that they will, but we'll see. Knicks play the Blazers Tuesday night. Should be a good one out in Portland. Let's wrap the show.